Today I want to talk about an album that often gets overlooked as it sometimes gets overshadowed by the album that came right before it. I'm talking about Hey Stoopid by Alice Cooper. This album features an all-star lineup. It has some classic tracks, including one song with a hidden message, another song which is a live staple, and I didn't know it was actually a cover song. There is the obligatory power ballad and another power ballad that was never released as a single, but I think it's really good, and a song that brings back that classic 1970s Alice Cooper sound and brings back one of those classic characters that hadn't been seen in years. Back in 1989, Alice Cooper released a comeback album called Trash that helped him break into the glam metal scene. He had a very big hit single called Poison. Now it's time to release another album 2 years later, and this is called Hey Stoopid. This one continued that glam metal sound he had on the previous album, but some people think it's actually a better album, but got overlooked because it was released right before the grunge explosion. So that's what I want to talk about today. Back when this album came out, I remember buying it on cassette. I lost that cassette over the years, but I rebought it recently on vinyl. I think it's a really good album and worth owning on vinyl. That's what I want to talk about today. So before I start, I'm going to show you my vinyl, which I filmed separately, and then I'm going to get more into the album and the different people and all that and the lineup. But let's look at the vinyl. Let's take a look at the album cover. Now, this is not one of my favorite album covers, but it's okay. I think it's very like 90s looking. It just has those particular colors, but I always liked the back cover better because it just shows Alice here with this whip and the leather. So that's pretty cool. Let me go in and look at the songs. So here's side one. I'm going to be talking about a few songs, not all of them today in this video, but let's just take a look. And there's the producer, Peter Collins, and the management. This came with an insert, which has all of the song's lyrics. And on the other side, same thing, so I don't really need to scan through the entire thing. You can find all this stuff online. It's just lyrics. Now looking at the record, it is a black vinyl, Epic logo, and the sticker, Hey Stoopid, and there's side ones and the songs. The music on vinyl, there's side two, starting with Feed My Frankenstein, ending with Wind Up Toy. I'll be talking about those songs later. Back to the video. Hey Stoopid was released on July 2nd, 1991 through Epic Records. It's the 19th album by Alice Cooper, if you count the early Alice Cooper Band albums. It was produced by Peter Collins. He was known for his work with both Rush and Bon Jovi. The album has lots of different themes. There are songs about heartbreak, relationships. Other songs are there. They're even more darker. They bring back that classic sound. There are a few power ballads. One song ended up becoming a live staple, and it's a cover song, something I didn't know until I did my research. As for guest musicians, this album is filled with them. For example, you have Slash from Guns N' Roses and Ozzy Osbourne on the title track, Hey Stoopid. Joe Satriani plays on multiple tracks. Not only that, Steve Vai plays on one track, Feed My Frankenstein. Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue plays bass on that same track. And not only that, but there's another Motley Crue member, Nick Mars, who plays on a different song called Die For You. And we have another guitar player, Vinnie Moore. He plays on two songs, which are Hurricane Years and Dirty Dreams. I said before, it was released right before the grunge explosion, which is why it didn't perform as well as the previous album, Trash, but it was fairly successful. It charted in the top 10 in many countries outside of North America. I think a lot of fans and critics might even say this one is one of his better albums from the glam metal era. It had a nice balance of hard rockers, ballads, and songs that brought back that classic sound. So it was a nice, well-rounded album. Let me talk about some of the key tracks. I think the biggest one is the title track, Hey Stoopid. It's important because it has this message warning people against self-harm and self-destructive behavior. He does it in a way that's like tough love. In other words, he tells the listener to just snap out of the negative thoughts and make better choices. The song is about addiction, depression, and mental health struggles. It comes from somebody who has dealt with all of this because Alice Cooper has always been open about his mental health problems. So when you listen to the song, you know there's some credibility behind it, and you can understand that he knows what's going on. In other words, the tone of the song is like, I've been there, I've done it, So it's not a very preachy song. It's more of a song that's kind of humorous, kind of tongue-in-cheek. It really gives people hope and resilience and helps them find strength. As for the technical aspects of the song, it was written by Alice Cooper, Vic Pepe, Jack Ponti, and Bob Pfeiffer, and features Slash of Guns N' Roses on guitar, Joe Satriani also on guitar, and Ozzy Osbourne doing some backing vocals. And you can hear him in the chorus. It was released as a single. It did pretty well in the UK. It reached number 21. In the US, it reached 78 on Hot 100. So it wasn't as successful as Poison from the previous album, but it got some attention. This is one of his most important songs on this album. But there's another song that's important. It's called Feed My Frankenstein. One of the songs that has been played live over the years and probably every show. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek type of song filled with lots of innuendos. But here's the thing. It's a cover song originally by Zodiac Mind Warp and Love Reaction, which surprised me because I had never known this. I've been a long-time fan of Alice Cooper, and I have most of his albums, but I just learned this myself. Apparently, Zodiac Mind Warp released the original version of the song on their 1991 album called Hoodlum Thunder, which came out only a few months before Hey Stoopid, which was in January 1991. So there's not a huge gap in the release dates. But it's one of those classic Alice Cooper types of songs. If you have followed him over the years, you know he's written a few songs with Frankenstein in the title. I think there are actually 3 of them. The last one came from his Road album. There are also some guest musicians. This one has both Steve Vai and Joe Satriani on guitar, Nikki Sixx on bass, and Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, appears in the song saying a spoken word line where she says he's a psycho. Not only that, the song became very popular. It was included on the 1992 comedy film Wayne's World. It became very popular because Alice Cooper makes a cameo appearance in the movie, which is a classic scene. It's also one of the songs that's part of his live show. During the show, it features this massive Frankenstein monster prop, and he comes out on stage, and there are scenes of Alice Cooper appearing to be electrocuted or transformed, and that also plays into the whole theatrical aspect of the song. Back in 1991, hard rock and metal bands always tried to have a power ballad because that was their ticket to getting on the charts. Although this one in particular didn't really explode, it's the second single called Love's a Loaded Gun. It's a typical power ballad about love, how it can be dangerous and unpredictable, and they use the metaphor of saying it's like a firearm. The lyrics describe betrayal and infidelity. There's also a darker undertone of obsession and potential revenge. As for the music, it was written by Alice Cooper, Vic Pepe, Jack Ponti, and includes session musicians who played on the album. Not only that, Alice Cooper played some harmonica on it. Like I was saying, it was released as a single, reached 38 on the UK singles chart and 31 on the US Billboard mainstream rock tracks chart. So it did okay. The B-side is a cover of Jimi Hendrix's Fire, so that was pretty cool. There's another power ballad. Well, it wasn't released as a single, but I think it's one of the best songs. I think Alice has a really good vocal performance. It's called Might As Well Be on Mars. I want to talk about that song. It talks about loneliness, being completely cut off from another person, or in other words, it's like the 90s version of being ghosted. I guess that's how you can interpret it. Basically, it says things like, I'm on a roof and I'm staring at the stars. The reach is just too far, and I might as well be on Mars. So you can tell there's definitely emotional distance. It talks about the feeling of being misunderstood and unseen. As for the songwriters, it was co-written by Alice Cooper and Desmond Child. He was somebody who wrote lots of songs during this period for bands like Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, and Kiss. And it was co-written by Diane Warren, another hit maker, and she is a woman behind many power ballads. So I'm actually surprised the song didn't become more popular, but I think it has held up very well and maybe better than the other songs on the album. And I want to talk about one more song. It's called Wind Up Toy. It's the last track on the album. It's the one that brings back that classic 1970s Alice Cooper, but still has some of that 80s sound. I say it because it has this dark and haunting tone. Brings back the character of Steven, who was last heard from the 1975 album Welcome to My Nightmare. In the song, the lyrics imply that Steven is confined and possibly in a mental institution, because they say things like shiny white walls, the padded cell, solitary confinement, the chains in a cell. His only companions are insects, rats, and his toys. So it's almost like he regressed to a childlike state. He also mentions his parents because there's a line that says, "Daddy won't discuss me. Mommy couldn't stand living with a wind-up toy." The song also mentions doctors and preachers. He says, "Doctors want to check me, poke me, dissect me. Preacher crucifies me. Warden wants to fry me." So he's describing how he feels like a wind-up toy. The song has Joe Satriani on guitars. Probably the only song from 90s Alice Cooper that brings back that classic sound. And as a matter of fact, Alice Cooper wasn't really that active in the 90s. He only released 2 albums. So if you want to hear some more Alice Cooper, I did a video where I show my box set. I'll stick that right here. Thanks for watching. Please give the video a like. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do content related to physical media on this channel. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.